And we're back. What's up? It's been a while. It's been nearly a month, I think, since I have sat on a piano bench in front of an iPhone and talked about my feelings, and that's not by design. I have plenty of things that I've wanted to tell you guys about, but life has found a way, both positively and negatively, to prevent me from doing so. First things first, let's get a clerical piece of good news out of the way. On June 11th, I made it to 13 months in remission from stage 4 metastatic melanoma, which is pretty cool. However, that's a pretty natural segue into talking about why I didn't make a video addressing it, because around that time, a lymph node of mine became inflamed and I got to be a little bit worried. Now, both of those things are fairly normal. Lymph nodes get inflamed for a lot of reasons, illnesses, infections, etc. But also, if you're a stage 4 cancer patient, that's normal to worry about an inflamed lymph node because lymph nodes can also blow up due to a cancer recurrence. That was my experience last time, and every time a lymph node gets inflamed, I am going to panic a little bit. Last year, at 2 different times, I had a lymph node in my neck become pretty inflamed, and it was terrifying. I was sure I had a cancer recurrence. I documented it well on this channel, and basically, it was this multiple week progression of me going through all the ways in which I was positive that cancer was coming back because it mimicked my recurrence with the lymph node blow up in my face, and I told you guys all about it. And I'm glad I did. For both times I started talking about the inflamed lymph node immediately as soon as I felt it, and time kind of stands still when you're in a cancer scare. And so I was using this vlog as an outlet, but I noticed, in retrospect for each of those videos that I just didn't have good energy about me. I was very mopey, I was very sad, I was very resigned to my fate. And so this time around, I decided I would treat it a little differently. I think it's a good example of how our past experiences shape our future decisions. I thought, okay, well, I had a lymph node blow up a couple times last year. It turned out to be nothing. Maybe I shouldn't be so hasty, so I'm going to let myself panic a little bit. I definitely did that, and I've been doing that. But I decided not to immediately jump to conclusions until I got more information. So I waited to tell people, and specifically I stopped making videos because I just didn't like the headspace I was in, and I got to do some of the positive life getting in the way. I went to see my parents in San Diego, I had a bachelor party in New Orleans, and I also moved up my scans so that I could try and, get rid of this scare so I could get back to normal life, because like I said, it literally is like everything around you stops. The important things, quote unquote, in life, work, socialization, your finances, your health that is not related to cancer, everything goes out the window. It's like you're stuck in this rut where all you can think of is, I just don't want to go back to that. Or at least that's how it is for me, because I've had the privilege, let's say, or the good fortune of getting into remission twice from cancer. There are plenty of people who have stage 4 melanoma or other chronic incurable cancers who don't ever get that good fortune. But for me, it's this stark contrast. Being in treatment is brutal, and going into remission is so hopeful. And to have a recurrence would represent this big step back in the potential for a long life. If we're being really honest about it, every time you get a cancer recurrence, you're kind of rolling the dice, and one of those times it could go wrong. And fully existentially go wrong, obviously. There is no free lunch with cancer treatment. I've lost the use of my thyroid. I've developed arthritis in both my hips. One of the fun things in the last few weeks that I did is get a cortisone shot radiologically guided into my femur head. And it turns out that it didn't help anything at all. So that's fun. I don't know why I'm complaining about that. I have much more important things to worry about, like this lymph node. So let's kind of get up to speed there. I think the first time I noticed the inflammation in my lymph node was near the end of May. Not exactly sure when, but I have really superficial lymph nodes, and I'm pretty neurotic about them now. And so I was in the shower, and I just felt my lymph node and said, okay, time to at least monitor this. And a couple weeks went by, and I decided I had to contact my oncologist about it. So I reached out and said, what should we do here? He reminded me that I had regularly scheduled scans anyway near the middle of June, so we bumped those up a week, and we decided to let a PET scan see if there was any activity in the lymph node itself. Maybe I should clarify for those of you who don't know, the activity I'm referring to on a PET scan is hypermetabolic activity, or the use of more glucose. And cancer will often show up like this because cancer cells use more glucose than normal cells, so that is the first step towards a diagnosis often, because you have to have indicators somehow. This is a pretty reliable one that it could be cancer. So yeah, we scanned 10 days ago, and it turns out that there is hypermetabolic activity in the lymph node of my groin. Fuck. And in fact, the way I found out was, in retrospect now, pretty funny. I was getting on a plane. Actually, we were taxiing in the plane to go to New Orleans to my friend's bachelor party, and I got the message from my chart for UCLA, and I pulled it up, and the plane just starts spinning, and I'm just going, oh no, this is going to be a miserable bachelor party. And it kind of was. I went into, pure zombie depression mode, and I tried to hold it together for my friends, and I probably wasn't the best friend. I was very aloof. I wasn't really excitable. I didn't lose it too much. I cried a couple times during a bachelor party, which I think is recommended one way or another to have the best possible time. But I got to be that dude that brought the weird drama. And anyway, then I got back home and the next step is we have to get a biopsy. The frustrating thing with the process of getting a biopsy right now is that as soon as I found out, I tried to schedule a lymph node biopsy because obviously I want to just get the information one way or another. If I'm, being dramatic about this scare, and it's nothing great. If it's cancer, I'm going to have to face the music. But locally and in other cities, as far as, LA and San Francisco, which I live in between the two, the earliest lymph node biopsy I could get was 2 weeks from last Thursday. And I have multiple friends and family members who are medical professionals. I'm pulling every lever I can, and it's just a frustrating, set of circumstances, and it's kind of indicative about how brutal the medical system is for people in the United States. I mean, it might be like this worldwide too, but I only have my experience. But I mean, I am well connected. I am an advocate for myself and other people, and I am pushing as hard as possible. And 2 weeks is too long for a stage 4 cancer patient or any cancer patient who's going through a scare to wait for a biopsy after scans. That mini rant included, you're now caught up to where I am. This is by far the most calm I've been systemically, personally, and in my ability to talk about this cancer scare over the last month. But it's terrifying and it's weird. I get this biopsy sometime next week, and it might mean that I have another recurrence, meaning I have to go back into treatment and open up Pandora's box of what cancer could do to my body. Obviously, I'll keep you guys up to date. Actually, maybe not so obviously. I haven't made a video in a month, but there are a few reasons why I decided to make this one today. One, I felt like I needed to get the information out. This is how I contact a lot of my friends and family about my cancer stuff. It's really hard to reach out individually to everyone you know and say, hey, I'm going through a cancer scare. I might need some emotional support or whatever. This is a good way to proliferate information. More importantly, I started developing this channel last year because I felt like it would be beneficial to other cancer patients and their loved ones to see what someone going through stage 4 cancer treatment would go through. And this is part of it. I am a stage 4 cancer patient now, whether I have a recurrence or not. I have incurable stage 4 metastatic melanoma. So each little segment of my journey through treatment into remission and even maybe back into treatment again, I want to record because I think it's really valuable to show other people what it looks like from a true humanistic standpoint. I've always talked about how the information about cancer, specifically cancer in young adults, is just hyperclinical. It's very sterile. And I think that by talking about it, it gives a kind of peek into what you might go through if you're going through any sort of cancer treatment. Finally, it helps me a lot. This is very cathartic. This is my form of therapy to talk about what I'm going through and to get feedback from it. And so even though I wasn't at my best over the last month and I didn't want to make videos, eventually I realized that part of me feeling better is going to be making this video. I'm going to pause this for a second. But almost made it through. Almost held it together. Either way, that shows you where I'm at. I'm able to talk about it. I'm able to process my fears, whether they are the rational ones of being one step closer to a recurrence or the irrational ones where I walk myself through all the negative things that could happen if I go through treatment again. And I'm going to get you the real information next time. So if you've made it all the way through, thanks for putting up with me rambling. I really appreciate it, and I really needed it today. This has been a good video for me to make, and I hope it didn't bore you too much or scare you too much, because we can only deal with what is put in front of us, and that's what I'm going to do one way or another. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Bye.